beautiful people, handsome people. Good morning to you and welcome to the Confab on STEAM Radio Vision. And you know what we do here on the Confab? We discuss national issues. We could even go as far as talking about international issues. This morning we have many interesting stories looking at us, facing us. We have about 4 stories that we'll be discussing this morning on the Confab. So once again, welcome to the Confab on STEAM Radio Vision. I am Chidinma Abel. And don't forget that we are located at Obokun Avenue, Elisha in Osun State, Nigeria, for those that are watching outside the country. Yes, this morning on the Confab, I'm not going to be doing this alone. I have my analyst sitting beside me in the person of Ohunayo, Ajiboye. Welcome this morning on the Confab, Ohunayo.
Thank you for having me over, Chidinma.
How are you doing this beautiful morning?
I'm going to use the French word, comme ci, comme ça.
For those that don't understand comme ci, comme ça, so what are they going to do right now?
It means I'm feeling like this, like that.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure how I'm feeling this morning.
Oh, but for you to be here shows that you are actually good, yes.
Okay, I'll say I'm fine.
You're fine. I wanted to believe that you are fine. Yes. All right, viewers, like I said, we'll be doing this together. My very self, Chidinma Abel, and my analyst, Ohunayo Ajiboye, will be dissecting, analyzing the stories before us. All right, on the Confab this morning, we will take you across 3 very different stories. We also add 1. But all of them raise uncomfortable questions about who we are as a nation, as Nigerians, who we are, and how our systems truly work. From Nigeria being ranked among Africa's top English-speaking countries, to a disturbing case of alleged incest in Ondo State, where a 55-year-old man raped a minor, a 15-year-old girl, who happens to be the sister to the 55-year-old man. We'll be looking at this together. And then finally, the arrest of a local government workers in Osun State amid claims of political intimidation. Away from the story, we'll still move to Abia State. We're talking about OT and the former governor of Abia State in the person of Carlo Ojizo. Now, on the surface, these stories seem unrelated, but beneath them lies a common thread: standards, accountability, and power. How do we measure progress? By global rankings or by lived realities? How do we protect the most vulnerable when silence thrives in our communities? And when the law moves sweetly, is it delivering justice or enforcing political interest? These are not just headlines. They are reflections of deeper structural issues confronting education, morality, governance, and workers' rights in Nigeria. So this morning we go beyond the news to interrogate the implications, the challenge, the narratives, and ask the hard questions that demand honest answers. So stay with us as we unravel the stories together. Now the very first story here, we'll be starting with Nigeria, emerging 5th best English-speaking country in Africa, and applause to Nigeria. You know, Nigeria. You know, when I saw this headline, I don't know, I was happy, yes, because this is a very good one for our country, Nigeria. Imagine as the 5th best English-speaking country.
But
so
I feel like
it's like we are going to be using English to solve problems.
No,
Nigeria.
it shouldn't be surprising. I mean, we had a case last year of a Nigerian that challenged, you know, a native English speaker in the UK.
You can imagine
and
that.
while the native English speaker won the competition, but the fact that it was so close. It was
Nigeria
so close.
challenged.
The Nigerian was close to the guy. Like the guy beat by 5. He beat the Nigerian by 5 points.
Just 5 points.
Just 5 points.
That's
so
impressive.
that's to show you that the level of English in Nigeria is beyond
English speaking.
is beyond what, you know, the whites see Nigeria as. I mean, this is why there's been a lot of people fighting that this English language proficiency test should be scrapped for Nigerians, because basically from the time we were small, even down to university days, we have been, everything has been English.
And it looks like Nigerians speak more of English than their native languages.
They do. A lot of us do. We speak Queen's English. You know, it's I mean, if you look at Nollywood now, almost everywhere is British accent, or as I like to call it, Ikorodu British accent. But, you know, jokes apart, that does not take away from the fact that Nigerians are proficient at the English language. Sometimes even better than, you know, than the native speakers themselves.
But you need, you know, they said, how will I put it? There's a disadvantage to it as well. A lot of homes now, when you go to some homes, you will discover that most of the kids in those homes can't even speak their native language. I mean, they speak more of English than their native language. And this is, I don't know whether to say it's appalling for a child born in the Yoruba.
I would call it ignorance. Ignorance in the sense that, you know, I'm thankful that there's a new wave of realization in Nigeria now that the ability to speak English is not a marker of a person's total intelligence quotient. It's not a marker of a person's intellectual abilities. Now, you might be able to speak English as good as any white man, as good as anyone from America, anyone from Canada, anyone from England, so to say, but your level of reasoning, critical thinking might be a problem for that person. So what I believe we need is balance. Is balance. We should be able to balance our native language and also, you know, the English. Because if you look at things now, the way Nigeria is getting popular, and that's shout out to Nigerians as a whole. You guys are amazing. Nigeria to the world. Now, one thing about Nigeria as a people is we have this tendency to export our culture. We assimilate, but we find ourselves in a foreign culture, we assimilate, but yet we kind of bring our own culture into that assimilation. That's why Nigerian English has become popular even over there now. And that's one of the things that I feel like we need balancing.
Okay.
So we got to balance the native. I mean, the whites are coming down here to learn our native languages.
That's a point worthy of note. So we have to balance the equation. If you can speak English, you should also be able to speak your native language, whether you are Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, or whichever tribe you're coming from. As a Nigerian, you should be proud of your language, you should be able to speak
and also,
your
Chidima,
language.
if I may add another thing to it, there's also the fact that I am a qualified language expert. I'm a qualified language expert. And one of the things I noted is, if you're proficient at your native language, proficiency at a native language allows you to actually be good at a foreign language.
Whoa.
Because, you know, the nuances, the context, sometimes the contextual meanings, the idioms and idiosyncrasies of your own native language allows you to understand the context, the nuances and idiosyncrasies of other people's languages. So,
okay, our viewers, I believe you're enjoying the conversation so far. So don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section, like and share. Now, moving ahead, let me just read out the headline for you. The story, as it was, reported, Nigeria has emerged as the fifth best English-speaking country in Africa. Kudos to our country and to all the English speakers out there. Now, according to the 2025 Education First English Proficiency Index cited by Punch on their website, the report, compiled by global education leader EF, assessed English skills across 123 countries. You can imagine this. 123 countries. So Nigeria did not just emerge fifth. You know, there's a difference between you contesting with 5 people, 5 countries. But we are talking about 123 countries put together.
That would be failure. That would be failure. That would be failure.
That would be failure, yes.
Yes.
But among 123 countries, Nigeria came out fifth. Whoa.
Indeed.
Yes. Now, using data from 2.2 million test takers, this year's edition also included, for the first time, speaking and writing skills measured using artificial intelligence technology developed by this EF's education technology arm to show you that there was no partiality. They adopted different means to ascertain who the winner, you know, how. Now, English, Nigeria's official language, remains central to education, governance, media, and business, helping the country maintain strong proficiency levels. On the African continent, Nigeria trails South Africa, Zimbabwe, Kenya, and Zambia, which lead in English proficiency. The rankings underscore the
Objection,
growing...
my lord.
Oh, come on.
Objection, my lord.
Before
No, I must object. I definitely must object.
You have a lot of
South Africa?
Of course. What are you talking about?
Zimbabwe?
That,
no. I'm not trying to be xenophobic here. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not trying to be colorist. I'm not trying to be nationalist or anything.
Remember,
but
I haven't said Africa Nigeria came first before Zimbabwe and the rest.
No, I'm saying like Nigeria trailed behind South
Yes.
Africa, Zimbabwe,
Okay,
Kenya,
okay.
and Zambia. That's why I'm objecting. Like, how?
So you believe
How?
Nigeria should do
I
better
believe
than...
Nigeria should have been better than that. Who are those that took the test?
Unfortunately,
Who are those?
Nigeria
We
came
need their
fifth.
names. We need their names. They must be arrested
For what?
for taking fifth. If this was China, they will not celebrate. They will
Now,
tell them.
in
They will
your
tell
own
them that. Are you not
indices-
seeing your mates that are taking first?
In your own indices, you feel Nigeria should come before Zimbabwe and the
I
likes
mean,
of
I
South
was
Africa.
thinking. I was thinking Nigeria lost to Ghana.
So what indices are you using
I
to
thought
measure
Nigeria
this?
lost to like Ghana, Rwanda.
You don't know
Ethiopia.
Ghana speaks Queen's English.
Yes, they do. They do. So I was thinking Nigeria probably lost, trailed behind us. But come on, the countries I'm saying, it's a shock. It's a shock for me. Okay, maybe South Africa not that much of a shock because they've got whites over there.
Yes,
but
they are dominated by the
but the rest
by
of the
whites.
countries, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Zambia.
I don't know.
Well,
the
that means
indices they
we've got
use
a
in
lot to do.
measuring.
We've got a lot to do. Now I'm switching to Queen's English. We've got a lot to do. You understand? Innit?
Who knows
Okay,
the
I'm coming
indices
back
they
to
use in
normal.
measuring who win and who didn't? I don't know.
Definitely,
Maybe like they said, writing and speaking, and it all boils down to who represented Nigeria, who
Definitely.
represented those countries.
But kudos to them. Out of 123 countries, fifth is not bad at all.
Yes,
it's not bad
it's
at all.
not bad at
In
all.
fact, it's worthy of being, commended.
Now let's come down. The rankings underscore the growing importance of English language as a bridge for international communication, education, and commerce. I'm still hoping that someday our local languages will be tested internationally. Don't you see that?
We're getting there. We're getting there, definitely. I mean, whites have started coming, foreign people have started
We
coming
see
down
some
to
whites
Nigeria.
speaking Igbo, Yoruba, and they speak it,
learning.
Very fluently.
Very
I've
fluently.
seen
So-
some of them like that.
So like I said, the world is
Global
already a
village.
global village, but not yet a community. But that's what's happening in the world. Cultures are blending together. Languages are being blended together. So I'm excited to see what's going to come of that evolution eventually.
All right, so now you have been waiting for, questions. Now they are coming to you right now. I don't know if you're ready to shoot them. All right, is this ranking a genuine reflection of Nigeria's education quality? The fact that Nigeria came fifth, is it enough? Is it a genuine reflection of Nigeria's education quality? Or is it simply a colonial inheritance, masking deeper literacy failures in indigenous languages and critical thinking? We are talking about indigenous languages.
Indigenous languages
Yes.
and critical thinking. Well, this is one thing we need to understand. It's a fact that Nigeria was colonized by the British.
Yes, it's a
And
fact.
we can't erase that part of our history. We can't erase that part of our
It has
history.
come to stay.
So, and part of what that became is the fact that our official language, lingua franca of Nigeria, is English language. And no matter how pan-African we want to be, no matter how nationalist we want to be, the truth of the matter is, if it comes down to it, and we were like, we don't want a foreign man's language as our lingua franca anymore, what language is going to be the lingua franca? And
Okay.
please, let's remember that we have 774 ethnicities in Nigeria alone, with different intonations and accents to their own native tongues. So which one are we going to pick? Nobody is going to agree. You pick Yoruba, the Igbos and the Hausas will say why. You pick Hausa, is going to be a problem.
Okay, this
Igbos
is
and
now like
Yorubas will
a
say why.
unifying factor.
So
That means the English
if
language.
there's anything that's unifying us in terms of tongue, that we can all talk to each other and understand each other without any tribe or ethnic group feeling inferior to the other, it is the use of the English language. Maybe we have to bring in etymologists and linguists together eventually somewhere in the nearest future, and we can craft out a language of our own.
But until then,
But until then, I feel that this is not a colonial inheritance. It is a colonial inheritance, but it is not masking failure in indigenous languages and critical thinking.
so
Because almost all the world, and if you look at it, almost half the world was colonized by the English. Half the world was colonized by the English. And what language do they speak till today?
So
They
in
speak
a nutshell, you were
English.
saying that it is a genuine reflection of Nigeria's education quality.
Yes, it's a general reflection of Nigerians' education quality. And that is in two ways, both good and bad. Like, I expressed my surprise that Nigeria was trailing behind South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Kenya.
And Kenya.
The reason why I expressed surprise is normally Nigeria should be far ahead of those countries in terms of proficiency at speaking English, writing English. But what we have seen is a drop in educational quality all over the nation, especially with our government-owned schools, both state and federal. What is happening is that private schools are taking over, and not all private schools are good enough. But that's what people can afford if they want their children to at least seemingly have the best education, because public schools right now, the state of public schools in the country is nothing to write
Okay,
home about.
now I just remembered something. You know, if Nigeria ranked fifth in English proficiency, why do employers, why do Nigerian universities still complain about poor communication skills among graduates?
That answer is actually very simple. Lack of evolution.
Lack of evolution.
Nigerian universities and employers in Nigeria have refused to evolve. I've gone for so many interviews, and I'm shocked that so many interviews I go for, and I'm shocked they're still using the old ways. They're still using the old metrics of judging if someone is the best for the job. I mean, like I said, proficiency at English language does not connote your intelligence standard. It does not connote it's not a marker of your intellectual ability. It's not a marker of your professional ability. What it does is shows that you actually learned when you were in school. That's all it does. And if you look at the Nigerian, thank you very much. If you look at the Nigerian education sector, it's more like we are taught to read for exams. We read for exams, and we pass exams. So that's what it is. We read for exams, we pass exams, and it is terrible. Because there's no critical thinking, there are no critical analysis, there are no critical skills being taught, no practical skills being taught in the university. And so when employers are complaining about poor communication skills among graduates, it has nothing to do with our English proficiency. It has more to do with the practical side of education. Nigeria is fond of teaching the theoretical aspect. There's no practical aspect, even when it comes to language. Like I said, I'm a language expert. I am a graduate of the Foreign Languages Department of the University of Benin. Very proud of my alma mater. And this is one of the things we were taught. In our 300 level, we went for a program called Language Immersion Program. We are learning the foreign language. The best way to practice the foreign language is to do what? Is to speak it. And not just to speak it to yourselves, because there are,
Not
like I
just to pass
said,
exams.
there are nuances, there are contexts within the language. So what we did was we went to a foreign country. We went to a French-speaking country, a francophone country. And, you know, we spent a year there immersing ourselves in their culture. We immersed ourselves in the culture. We lived there for a year, studying over there, going to school, going to the market, interacting with the people. And what happened? We immersed ourselves in the culture, and we ended up being proficient at the language. Now, that is the practical aspect.
Okay.
And that is what Nigerian educational institutions, from primary school to secondary school, even down to universities, seem to be lacking. There's no platforms for practical applications of the things we are learning, especially when it comes to language proficiency.
Now, does our independence on English strengthen global competitiveness, or does it widen inequality between private school elites and public school students?
Both of them, but it's not exactly black and white. So this is how it is. The dependence on English language, like I said, is one of the factors that we can say is a uniting factor for all tribes in Nigeria. So without English language, well, what we would have is a lot of fights and quarrels on which language should be the lingua franca, because I can tell you definitely that the tribes, the ethnicities in Nigeria will not agree for any local language to be the one, because they will see it as them being inferior and those ones being superior. Even if that was not the case, that is how they will feel, because we are all humans and this is the inherent flaw within humanity. So the best thing now, what now happens is the fact that there truly is an inequality. There's an inequality between there's inequality between private school elites and public school students. And that is why I said the government needs to do more, because the state of public schools in Nigeria right now, public schools used to be the standard. Private school and public school, it used to be next. In fact, private school back in the past, from what I've heard from people who experienced real public school that were administrated, especially during the military era, you know, it was a true institution of learning. But now, compare private schools and public school. The worst private school is still outperforming the best public school, and it should not be so. So the government has a lot of work to do in the educational sector. It is about time. It is about time to invest more in education for those that cannot afford to pay
one
for
last
private schools.
question before we wrap it up on that very segment. Should Nigerians be celebrating this ranking at all, or asking harder questions about why countries with smaller populations are even underperforming or outperforming us?
Well,
you just talked about Kenya and South Africa. You said Nigerians shouldn't trail behind it. Now, I'm asking a question. Should Nigerians be celebrating, saying that there are countries, I mean smaller countries, that are even outperforming? Why Nigeria is underperforming?
Indeed, indeed. So what that becomes and what that leads to is that this is worth celebrating, because this proves our point that Nigerians don't need to take the language proficiency test when they are trying to migrate to foreign countries. We are already proficient in this language. So asking us to pay for an exam, for a test, to show our proficiency at that language, that is an insult to us. And it's a form of systemic racism, if you think about it. So this is evidence. This is evidence. And I hope that this leads to a situation where no more, you understand, where there will be no more need for Nigerians that want to migrate to the UK, to the US, there will be no more need for them to be subjected to such tests, because I feel it is insulting to them. But at the same time, it's not wrong for Nigerians to ask questions about how countries with smaller populations are outperforming us, which boils down to the fact that the government needs to do better in the area of education.
All right, thank you so much, Ohunayo. We will just move to the very next headline here. Our viewers, don't forget to leave a comment for us in the comment section, like and share. Right now, we'll be discussing about the 3 Osun local government workers that were arrested for alleged theft of council property. This is a story that we'll be looking at right away. 3 local government employees in Osun State were arrested on Monday for allegedly stealing official items from their respective council secretariat. You know why I just mentioned that, like I emphasized on that allegedly.
Because the real news on the street is not the same. It's something
entirely
different entirely.
And in fact, I think when I saw the picture of this man on his nails, I was deeply touched. Okay, let me just go on. Now, the arrest took place at the Bolu, Waduro, and Egbedoro local government secretariat shortly after workers resumed duty following the suspension of industrial action. You will recall that they've been called back to work after 11 months of sit-at-home or industrial action. Now, speaking to journalists in Oshogbo on behalf of the Association of Local Government of Nigeria, Argon chairman, the chairman of Irekpodun local government, Barrister Adegoke Ogunshola, said 2 workers were apprehended at the Boluwaduro secretariat, while another one was arrested at Egbedoro. Now, NLC, Osun State, has reacted. Osun NLC condemned the arrest of the local government workers. The chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress in Osun State, Christopher Arabashokbo, on Monday demanded an immediate end to what he described as the serial arrest of workers within the premise of local government secretariats across the state. You saw the pictures and the videos circulating online, showing the arrested workers alongside documents allegedly found in their possession were also circulated on social media on Monday. Now, the NSC chairman said reports from local government areas indicated that the police are actively, this is just where we are going to right now, the police are actively supporting some politicians. Not even because they are doing their work legally. They are supporting some politicians to parade and to humiliate local government workers adding that it is unacceptable for the police to be involved in such disgraceful acts. You know, sometime last year they even raised a law. I don't know if they something. It wasn't a law, but they raised it in a what they call it, the
Is it the House of Assembly?
the House of Assembly.
Okay.
If a man was caught stealing, or anyone, you shouldn't parade that person until proven guilty by the court of law. Before you can even parade such a person. But you see what is happening here. These people are not just children, but they were seen paraded in the public.
And humiliated.
Humiliated. Now, he said workers shouldn't be criminalized for complying with public service rules at their workplace, noting that their members have done nothing wrong, and this harassment must stop without delay. Now, let's look at it. Are this arrest a genuine anti-corruption drive or a political witch hunt disguised as law enforcement?
So,
Judging from what NSA Ocean chapter said and the action that was carried out, how do you see it?
Well, this is it. I'm not going to say, I'm not going to delve into a case of this one said and that one said, because that's what's going on right now. We don't really know what's going on. But what I'm going to delve into is what the law says. There's a rule of law in Nigeria, and from what I've seen so far, the law enforcement has not followed the rule of law. They have not followed the rule of law. If these people are suspected, now there's no evidence showing that they were stealing. They are workers, and I don't know. As a worker, there are documents. Truly, there are documents that should not leave the premises of your workplace. But there are certain documents that you work on even when you are home. This is common knowledge. So now there has been no investigation. There's been no inquiries. There's been no transparency. All we are just seeing is pictures of these people being humiliated and paraded. No evidence, no guilt yet. Guilt has not been decided. It is not up to the police to decide who is guilty. It's not up to the police to decide who is guilty. So indeed, I want to agree with the NLC chairman in Osun State that this has to stop. It has to stop. If they are suspected of having done something wrong, or if they were caught with documents that they should not be caught with, there are legal processes. There are procedures for this. That's why we have a rule of law. There are steps established that the police, even the police, they are subject to these laws, and they must not break the laws.
Now you're talking about due process.
Yes, due process.
If workers were truly caught, if they were truly caught with stolen items,
there are
why
due
is
process.
NLC defending them instead of demanding due process?
Exactly.
And transparency.
And that's the suspicious part of it now. NLC would not suddenly stand up for wrongdoing just because this was their person. So that's the thing. That's why I said the reports we are hearing now is different from what is out on the streets. From word of the mouth. What we are seeing online is different from what is out on the streets. What is out on the streets is that this was a coordinated attack by the political opposition of Governor Nuruddin Jackson Ademola Adeleke, by the opposing parties to discredit him and, to cause a lot of chaos, to cause anarchy within the government structure of Osun State right now, being that election is already close by. And, we have just a few months left, because I don't want to count January anymore. Before you know it, in a week or 2 weeks' time, we are getting set for February, and there's just 28 days in February. So the election is getting closer and closer and closer. And what we're going to be seeing is a lot of concerted efforts to destabilize, the opponent. It's going to be a chess game. It's going to be a 6D chess game between them. But this is a terrible move. This is a terrible game.
I was about asking you if you really believe that the police were weaponized by political actors. But from what you just said now, I want to believe
that I am of that opinion.
Yes.
Well, 70% of that opinion, because I'm also skeptical.
Okay.
I'm also
so what's
skeptical.
the other 35%?
The other 35%,
25%.
the other 25% is the fact that it could be possible that these workers truly did what they did. It's probable. But without due process being followed, without due evidence, without a competent court of law declaring their guilt, the police has no right to parade or humiliate them. Even if they were found guilty, they still have rights. They should not be humiliated. There's a punishment for every crime.
Talking about
and that must be decided by the court of law.
Okay, talking about parading them now, does parading suspects on social media amount to justice? just
No,
social media? Because they
it
did
doesn't. It doesn't. It is actually rather a very dangerous abuse of power, and it undermines the rule of law. It absolutely undermines the rule of law, because this has always been the case. Someone is suspected of a crime, they are arrested, detained. The next thing you see them on Crime Fighter. The next thing you see them being paraded on TV. You see them being paraded on social media. Now, this is the part, this is the silent part that the public doesn't know about. Or the public knows about it, but we don't care. And it is our job to educate the people as the media. Now, when such a person that has been paraded, humiliated, and their reputation has been dragged through the mud is found innocent, the same police never comes back online.
Now, talking
to
about
clear them.
workplace, at what point does workplace discipline cross into criminalization, and who decides where that line is drawn? This is the last question on the segment before we move to...
The truth of the matter is that I think I already answered that question when I said we should go by what the law says. It's simple. Due process is what decides punishment. Every workplace has its own rules. Just as the local government secretariat workers have their own rules. If they were caught stealing, I believe strongly that there are procedures, there is due process. Even before the police will be involved, there's due process. There will be a questioning session, an interview session. There will be a lot of reviews done first before police is invited.
So in this case now, who is to be blamed?
What we found is that due process is not being followed, and the blame should go to the law enforcement, which is the police, because they are enforcers of the law. How do you have enforcers of the law that don't know what the law says? How do we have enforcers of the law that do not follow the rule of the law? Nigerian police and due process in this country, they are like enemies. They are like two sides of a coin. The two shall never meet, which is not supposed to be so. And so I put the blame on the police for this. They should have known better.
All right, thank you so much. If you're just joining us, this is the Confab on Esteem Radio Vision. I will be talking about national issues. Right now, we are looking at Ondo man that was arrested over allegation of defiling his sister's minor. This is, I don't know, an old man, a man of 55, defiling a minor, a 15-year-old girl. This is really sad.
It's not just sad. I don't even know what to call it.
Now, the Ondo State Police Command has arrested a 55-year-old man, Ademola Joshua, over allegations of incest involving his sister's 15-year-old daughter. It was learned that Joshua was arrested on Sunday in Ilara, Mokin area of Ondo State, following a report made to the police. Confirming the arrest in a statement on Monday, the command spokesperson, Abayomi Jimo, said the suspect had allegedly been committing the acts for some time before the survivor's uncle alerted the police, leading to his apprehension. You can imagine this. The statement read on 4th January 2025, one Adewale of Ilara Mokin on the state reported to the command that the above-mentioned suspect had been engaging in unlawful sexual activities with his sister's daughter, a 15-year-old minor. The question now comes, how do we protect these minors? How do we protect these young ones? Because honestly, things like this keep happening. I've heard of stories like this, and in fact, I have seen parents who try to shut down their daughters.
And I believe that's where the problem actually comes from. It's not about how we protect them.
I've heard of a little girl complaining to the mother that someone was molesting her sexually, and the mother was surprised.
Exactly. That's the problem. That is the problem we're having. What we're having now is a failure of the family system and community vigilance to protect these minors, because there are laws put in place, there are steps put in place, there are organizations fighting, for the girl child. There are organizations standing for the rights of the girl's child. So there is this is not ignorance anymore. The world has become so globalized and social media has become so generalized that everybody knows wrong from right. Everybody knows wrong from right. So if you as a mother, your daughter is complaining about a particular adult and you refuse to pay attention to it, come on.
Now let's look at it. What does a case like this say about the failure of family systems and community vigilance in protecting minors? I know you have said something, but I need you to elaborate
what a case
on
like this says about that failure is that we need to do away with a certain habit. In Nigeria especially, there's this cultural habit. It cuts across all tribe. it cuts across all tribes in Nigeria. I have noticed that when it involves a child and an adult, people tend to be on the side of the adults. And that is wrong. It's wrong. That's where it starts from. You know, like you said, you have mothers shutting down their daughters when they are trying to report that uncle that is touching them inappropriately,
or even
the father that's touching them inappropriately. One, because they believe adults are always right, and children are wrong. There's this cultural thing that the young must always give in to the old, because the old have age and experience on their side, and that is wrong.
The image
now that is
of
one
the
side.
family.
That's one side of the failure of family systems, because we need to correct that. It starts from correcting that. It starts from letting a minor, any child, know that they have the right to correct an adult that has done wrong. They have the right to call out an adult that has done wrong. If we keep telling the young to shut up because the adults are old because of their age, and they say respect the elderly, respect the elderly, respect the elderly, this is part of the problem.
Shouldn't the elder also respect
themselves? Now, another problem, again, that still shows the failure of the family system is, why on earth is a mother trying to protect maybe an abusive elder in the family? It might be her husband, it might be her own brother. You get, trying to protect that person just because the person is her husband or her brother. They are thinking of the person's reputation. They are thinking of what outsiders will think of the family. So they are thinking it's better. Yeah, they are thinking it's better to hide this. They see it as a shameful thing, which it is. But they are now thinking it's better to hide this shameful thing instead of and forget that their children are being traumatized. They forget that this is going to have a long-term traumatic effect on these children. And this is the failure of the family system. If the family system can be bettered, and first of all, we get rid of that mentality that adults are always right, and we allow children to actually speak their mind, and we stop shutting them down in favor of adults, we'll see less of this. And now, the next one is there should be community. Even within the community, there should be community punishment already, even before we bring in policemen. And I'm not saying taking the law into our hands. But when there are consequences, the truth of the matter is the reason why this thing is still rampant is because there are not enough consequences for this. I think there was a country recently that said anybody caught raping a minor will face chemical castration. Ever since that law was passed, we know how many times that country has now had news of a minor being raped. What happened? Clear consequences to actions. Nobody wants to be caught. In fact, even people that don't have the tendency to do that, they are now extra careful around minors because they don't want to be accused of anything because of clear consequences. When there is no clear consequences, what you have are cases like this in Nigeria.
Okay, now, talking about the laws, punishments, are Nigerian laws and enforcement truly equipped to deter incest? Or do we still treat it as a private family matter?
The truth of the matter is that there are laws in place, put in place to deter this, but the laws are not being enforced. They are not being enforced. And the reason why they are not being enforced is that culturally, Nigerians are still treating this as a private family matter. Until the government actually comes out and until the laws are being enforced to the letter, until there's capital punishment for such acts, I feel like it's still going to be rampant. But by the time there's punishment, it's not like it's going to die out, but it's going to be lesser. And I believe the perpetrators will be more scared of even doing their evil, which will reduce this. And, the more they reduce it, eventually it will die out.
So how complicit are communities when they ignore warning signs on
very
abuse,
complicit.
Becomes
very
impossible
very
to hide.
complicit. The communities are starting from the immediate family of the victims, they are very complicit. They are, especially when the perpetrator is someone known to them or someone influential within the community. So they are all usually mostly complicit.
Now let's talk about the solution. They say there's no any problem that does not have a solution. So now, beyond arrest, we have been told that this man has been arrested. We have heard cases like that. After the arrest, what happens?
Else? They don't get charged to court. The story just ends like that.
So beyond arrest, what long-term psychological and social support exists for survivors? Or do we simply move on after the headlines just fade like that?
Well, like I said, there are organizations, non-governmental and both governmental organizations that have been established to help caution this and to help with helping minors, and this time not just the girl child, because it's not just girls that are victims of this. We even have male children also victims of this. So it shouldn't be. The first thing that needs to be done is we shouldn't make this into a gender war. Because when we hear such cases, you have radical families online who come and they turn it, they come and they say all men and animals, this one, that,
and all of that. No.
This is not a gender war. This is a case of bad people doing bad things. And the bad people in this case just happen to be a man. Well, we've had women are doing this too, but they are not just, the fact is they are not being caught as much as the men are. That's just the truth of the matter. So what we have is that there are organizations put in place, there are communities put in place to help these children when such things happen. Providing therapy, providing guidance, trying to let them get over this trauma that has happened to them. They do not deserve this trauma, but it has happened. And the best thing is to take care of them and make sure that that trauma does not impact their future. It does not change their life for worse, that they move on from it stronger and better than they've ever been. And also, the best thing to do in that kind of situation is to ensure that the perpetrator receives adequate punishment, because when the victims see that there's justice, it enables them to heal better. But imagine a child that was traumatized, that was abused by someone. The person was arrested, and then the police is the one even advocating that so that your family will not scatter. Just forget it.
It's
just
a family issue.
I've read something like that in the paper before, and I was like, what?
And they will just trash the case.
And you expect that, and that child will now see the abuser again. And the abuser will still be coming to the family house, interacting with.
That were meant to protect her, and not the one.
But if those steps are taken, it will really help. It will help not just the victim to heal, but it will also help protect other potential victims.
All right, viewers, this is where we're wrapping it up this morning on the Confab. But before we finally call it a day, I believe my analyst here has a parting remark to give to you with respect to the stories that we have looked at this morning.
Well, it's at first, we started on a good note, talking about Nigeria's imagine the fifth among 123 countries, which is commendable, but I believe we can do better. I am saying we can still do better. Nothing says we can be the first. I mean, we could be the first. I'm sure Nigerians agree with me. They definitely agree that we can be the first, but that is commendable. And all the other stories, one thing that strikes me is the fact that in Nigeria there's no respect for the rule of law. And it is essential that the rule of law becomes paramount, even down to the president. The president has no respect for the Constitution. He has shown that in his action when he suspended a sitting elected governor. He suspended a sitting elected governor and he appointed an administrator over a state. It was a shocking time, because it was not supposed to be so. It shouldn't have been so. And again, we had another case where he sent airstrikes over Benin Republic, without he didn't follow due process. The process was now done after he has already taken action, which is wrong. Like, we need to have respect for the rule of law, because in a nation where the rule of law is disrespected, what happens is we find ourselves getting closer to a dog-eat-dog society, and that is anarchy. So please, in everything, I'm begging the government, all government agents, all state-backed agencies, let's follow the rule of law.
Let's follow the rule of law. So as we wrap up today's stories, they remind us that progress, justice, and governance must go beyond headlines and rankings. They must be felt in our lives, in people's lives, whether it is education, protection of the vulnerable, or the exercise of power. Accountability remains the true measure of a nation. All right, I want to say a very big thank you to our viewers, to our watchers, yes, our loyalists. Thank you so much for choosing Esteem Radio Vision. Thank you for always staying with us. Thank you for always choosing us. And don't forget that this program will still be coming your way tomorrow. And as we are stepping out, someone will be coming in. So stay loyal to Esteem Radio Vision. And also to our chairman in the person of Dickie Michael Ashaolu Adeboye, the founder of Eniakbonle Foundation and Esteem Radio Vision. We also want to say a very big thank you to you. And to our producer, Ayomikon, thank you. You are doing a great job. To my analysts, once again, thank you so much. I look forward to having you again and again.
You're welcome.
All right, this is where we'll be wrapping it up. I still remain Chidima Abel. Until I come your way again, stay loyal to Esteem Radio Vision.